The wise owl and the foolish firefly. Once upon a time, in the heart of an enchanted forest, there stood a towering, ancient oak tree. It was the oldest tree in the forest, with thick roots that stretched deep into the earth and branches that reached up to the sky like the arms of a giant. High up in this oak, hidden among the leaves, lived a wise old owl named Oliver. Oliver was known throughout the forest as the wisest of all creatures. His feathers were a soft, silvery gray, and his large round eyes gleamed like golden moons. His eyes could see not only far into the distance but also deep into the hearts of those who sought his advice. Animals from all corners of the forest came to visit Oliver when they needed guidance, and he was always happy to help with his calm wisdom and kind heart. One warm summer evening, as the sun began to set and the sky turned a deep purple, the fireflies started to wake. Tiny golden lights began to twinkle in the darkening forest as the fireflies blinked on and off, dancing through the night. Among them was a young firefly named Freddie. Freddie was a playful and mischievous little fellow, always zipping around faster than the other fireflies, flashing his light brightly as he darted from tree to tree. Freddie loved to show off. He would flash his light as brightly as possible, then zoom away, leaving other fireflies behind in awe. He especially enjoyed chasing after the brightest lights he could see, whether they were the glowing moon, distant stars, or even the flickering lights of other fireflies. He loved the thrill of the chase, and nothing excited him more than darting toward anything that shone brightly in the night. But Freddie had a problem. He was always so busy chasing lights and having fun that he often forgot to pay attention to where he was going. More than once, Freddie had gotten lost deep in the forest, far away from his home in the meadow. Tonight was one of those nights. Freddie had spent hours darting after every light he saw, other fireflies, the distant glow of lanterns from a nearby village, even the twinkling reflection of stars in a pond. Now, as the night grew late and the forest grew darker, Freddie realized with a flutter of panic that he didn't know where he was. No matter how fast he flew or which light he followed, he couldn't seem to find his way back to his meadow. "Where am I?" Freddie buzzed, his little light flickering nervously. He zipped in circles, hoping to spot something familiar, but the more he flew, the more lost he became. Finally, exhausted and frightened, Freddie remembered what all the animals in the forest knew. Whenever you were in trouble, you could always go to Oliver the owl for help. Freddie quickly flew toward the tallest oak tree in the forest, where Oliver lived. As he approached, he could see Oliver perched on one of the high branches, his golden eyes glowing in the darkness as he watched over the forest below. "Oliver! Oliver, I need your help!" Freddie called out, his tiny wings buzzing with worry. Oliver, who had been quietly observing the night, turned his head and blinked down at the little firefly. "Ah, young Freddie," he said in his deep, calm voice, "what brings you here so late at night? You seem troubled." Freddie hovered in the air, his light flashing nervously. "I've been flying around all night, but I can't find my way home. Every time I see a light in the distance, I chase after it, thinking it will lead me back to my meadow, but it never does. I'm completely lost. What should I do?" Oliver gazed at Freddie for a moment, his wise eyes twinkling. "I have seen you zipping about the forest, Freddie," he said softly. "You are always chasing after the brightest lights, never stopping to think about where you are or where you are going. But not all lights lead you to where you want to be. Some lights are only distractions." Freddie blinked, confused. "But the lights are so beautiful. How can I not follow them? They seem like they're leading me somewhere important." Oliver nodded, understanding the little firefly's excitement. "Yes, they are beautiful," he agreed, "but beauty does not always show us the right path. Sometimes, the things that shine the brightest are the things that lead us farthest away from where we need to go." Freddie fluttered his wings in frustration. "But how will I know which lights to follow and which ones to ignore? It all seems the same to me." Oliver's feathers rustled gently in the breeze as he shifted on his branch. "The answer is not in the lights you see around you, Freddie," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "The answer is within you. You must learn to trust your own light. You have your own glow, small but steady. If you trust it and stop chasing after every bright distraction, you will find your way home." Freddy was still uncertain. But my light is so small compared to all the other lights. How can it be enough to guide me? Oliver smiled kindly. It is not the size of your light that matters, but the steadiness of it. If you fly too quickly and chase after everything that sparkles, you will only become more lost. But if you slow down and trust in your own glow, you will see the path before you. Freddy hovered silently for a moment, thinking about Oliver's words. He wasn't sure if his tiny light could really guide him, but he had always trusted Oliver's wisdom. And so, with a deep breath, Freddy decided to follow the owl's advice. "Thank you, Oliver," Freddy said quietly. "I'll try." Oliver nodded, his golden eyes soft and wise. "Remember, Freddy, the brightest lights are not always the ones that lead us home. Sometimes, the softest glow is all you need." With that, Freddy flew off into the night, leaving Oliver to his peaceful perch. As Freddy buzzed through the dark forest, he felt the familiar pull of distant lights, the twinkling stars, the flicker of other fireflies, even the glow of a nearby village's lanterns. But this time, instead of chasing after them, Freddy stopped. He hovered in the air, allowing his own soft glow to light the space around him. It wasn't as bright as the stars or as dazzling as the village lights, but it was warm and steady. Freddy took a deep breath and began to fly slowly, letting his own light guide him. At first, the darkness felt overwhelming, and Freddy was tempted to dart toward the brighter lights in the distance. But he remembered Oliver's words, "Trust your own glow." As Freddy flew slowly through the trees, something wonderful happened. He began to recognize the path. There was the old pine tree with the mossy roots where the squirrels liked to play, and just ahead was the little stream that wound its way through the forest. Freddy's light flickered with excitement, but he kept his pace slow and steady. The more he trusted his own glow, the clearer the path became. Soon, he recognized the familiar trees and bushes of the meadow where he lived. Freddy's heart soared. He had found his way home. He landed softly on a blade of grass, his tiny light glowing brightly with joy. Freddy had done it. He had trusted his own light and found his way, just as Oliver had said he would. That night, as Freddy curled up in the soft grass of his meadow, he felt a deep sense of peace. He didn't need to chase after every light to find his way. He could trust in himself and his own steady glow. The next night, when Freddy flew out into the forest again, he still marveled at the beautiful lights of the stars and the other fireflies. But now, he no longer felt the need to chase them. He was content to let his own light guide him, knowing it would always lead him where he needed to go. And up in his high oak tree, Oliver the wise old owl watched over the forest with quiet satisfaction, knowing that another young creature had learned a valuable lesson about the power of trusting in oneself. Moral of the story: true guidance comes not from the brightest distractions, but from within. Trust in your own path, and your inner light will always lead you home.